everyone, it's Julia, and today I'll show you how to make this orange cranberry cheesecake. It's absolutely delicious and it's perfect for upcoming holidays like Thanksgiving, Christmas, or any other holidays that you celebrate this time of year. It's a really sophisticated cheesecake and it also makes a beautiful presentation on any holiday table. I hope you love this recipe, so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need is some wafer cookies. Now, if you live in North America, you're going to have a much easier time with this recipe than here, because I know in North America you can buy those cheesecake, like not batter, but you can buy the crumbly stuff. You can buy it already pre-crumbled to make cheesecakes. Like I know they have the Oreo. If you can find the Oreo cookie, like the cheesecake stuff, use that. It'll be absolutely perfect. You're going to have to use regular cookies. Now, if you can find dark cookies, like chocolate cookies, that would be ideal. I couldn't find any here, so I'm just going to be using these vanilla, they're kind of like vanilla wafers. So you want to use a 9-ounce package, which I figured out is about 260 grams. If you are working with the whole cookie, the easiest thing to do is to use a food processor, which I don't have. So this is really a big pain in the ass for me to make cheesecake, because I have to now crumble these up by hand. And I got this awesome technique that I discovered. So, you see, just go over it. There you go. Perfect. And just scrape them up. You see, it's perfect. You don't even need a food processor. So it should look something like that at that point. Okay, then you're also going to need some bittersweet cooking chocolate, about 2 ounces, which is about 70 grams. And I'm just going to grate those. So I just added the chocolate to the cookies, and I'm just going to give those a mix. So I've just gone ahead and melted about 5 tablespoons of butter, which is about 73 grams. And I'm just going to pour that into the mixture, and then you want to give that a stir until it becomes kind of clumpy. So you just want to keep mixing so that it's even, so that you don't get any, clumps on one end and then dry on the other. It should be very evenly mixed. And I'm also going to add a little bit of cinnamon. This is optional. I just like adding a little bit of cinnamon. So I've got a springform pan here. And now I'm going to put this crumb mixture into the bottom first. And then you want to go ahead and pack that down. I'm using a spoon, but you can also use like cellophane. You can also use some cellophane and just kind of pack that down nice and tight, and you want to make sure that there's no holes or anything anywhere. What you also want to do, as you can see, I've still got quite a bit of the crumb mixture. You want to work it up on the sides, and this is kind of the tricky part. So I'm first going to just pile that onto the side here. So I'm going to take the cellophane, and just kind of work that up on the edges. And make sure you just have a little bit of crumbs left over, so that if you have any, holes or something on the bottom, so that you still have some left over, so you can go ahead and fix those little mistakes. Alright, so there is the finished crust. So it should look something like this. It doesn't have to come all the way to the top, but it should come maybe 3/4 of the way up at least. So the oven should be preheated to about 325 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 160 degrees Celsius. And I'm going to put that in now for about 8 minutes. Okay, so now you're going to need the cream cheese. So I am using 900 grams of cream cheese. This is the full fat one. 4 packages of the Philadelphia stuff. So they say 4 9-ounce packages, so whatever that is in the United States. Now it says to add about 1.5 cups of sugar. For me, that's way too much. I reduced it to about a cup. And now I'm going to use my mixer just to blend this together. You also want to add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. We don't have really vanilla extract, but we have vanilla sugar. So this is bourbon vanilla. Okay. Then I'm also going to add 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. And just gonna add that. And then you want to just whisk that up again. I'm also going to put in a little bit of brandy. So this is about, I don't know, maybe a tablespoon. And now I'm going to grate the zest of an orange. Now for this you want to use organic oranges if you can, because the organic ones don't have the fertilizer in the peel. And what you want to do is when you're grating an orange, you want to stop as soon as you see the white, okay? So as soon as you see that white fleshy stuff, don't grate that anymore, because that's where the bitterness comes from in oranges. So you really just want the zest. So just kind of, you know, like 2 strokes. So there you can see the orange zest. Now I actually went ahead and added the zest of a whole another orange because I absolutely love this flavor. I'm just gonna beat that in. Then you also want to add 4 fresh large eggs to this. Okay, so there are the eggs. And you know the drill, mix that up again. I am going to pour that into the prepared pan that you've baked. And this should be fully cool now by the time that you bake this. Yep, it fits. Yoo-hoo! And I can't tell you how good this cream cheese stuff, I tasted a little bit, tastes so good. And now you want to have preheated your oven slightly higher. I think it's at 350 degrees Fahrenheit now. Okay, so I've put it into the oven and it should bake now for about an hour. Okay, so once the timer has gone off on the cheesecake, what I did is I just turned the oven off, but I'm not taking the cheesecake out. I just put a slotted spoon, or just a spoon, like a wooden spoon, into like the oven so that it cools very, very slowly. So it just kind of firms it up a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and make the cranberry topping. Half a cup of sugar in here. I have got about 4 tablespoons of water. And now I'm just gonna heat that up, and I just want to dissolve the sugar. Okay, so the sugar is just now dissolved. Now I put about 1½ teaspoons of cornstarch in here and just mix that with a little bit of water. And this is so that you don't get clumps. And I'm gonna pour that into the sugar syrup that I've made. And then you want to just simmer that for a bit, and what's going to happen is this is going to kind of turn into like a thick syrup. So I have washed and rinsed the cranberries and just taken out any kind of bad ones, 600 and something grams of cranberries, and I'm just going to add those in. So I'm just going to coat them with the syrup stuff. And just once they start popping, you want to turn off the heat. So you can actually hear some of them starting to pop. So you just want to keep stirring at this point. So that, okay, just keep stirring frequently. Okay, so now I've removed them from the heat. You don't want to overcook them, so you don't want it to turn into like a sauce. You still want them to keep their shape. I am going to take another orange and just grate again the zest. Is going to go here into these cranberries. I have some cranberry liqueur. This is just something I thought of from the spur of the moment, and I thought this would be perfect. I am going to add a little bit of this liqueur to the cranberries. Okay. Okay, so then I'm going to just transfer this cranberry sauce into a bowl. Let those completely cool down and cover it with like some cellophane, and then you can chill that overnight in the fridge. Okay, so I have chilled the cranberries and the cheesecake overnight in the fridge, so you just want to cover them and just put them in the fridge overnight. And now we're actually going to go ahead and get started with covering the cheesecake with the cranberries. So the first thing you want to do is you want to remove the spring form, so it should come out quite easily. So then I used a spatula just to lift the cheesecake from the bottom of the pie form, and then I transferred it onto a cake dish using 2 spatulas, so you just want to be a bit careful. And now I just spooned the cranberries right on top, so they will have congealed a little bit, but you still want a little bit of juices, so you know that's going to give a lot of flavor to the cheesecake. and I am just very excited to eat at this point. So that's what it looks like when it's finished, and it looks really beautiful. It just looks like a really festive, delicious cheesecake. And there you can see how it looks like when you slice it. And the cheesecake came out perfectly. The topping was so delicious. So I really hope you enjoyed this recipe, and if you want to see more cooking tutorials by myself, I actually do some cooking tutorials on my other channel, The Third Shift. So go ahead and check those out if you want sort of more healthful recipes. And thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye bye!